The human exploration vessel Horizon drifted through the star-speckled void at the edge of mapped space. Captain Jack Ellis stood on the bridge, hands clasped behind his back as he stared at the vast emptiness before them. Their mission was simple: explore, document, and return home safely. So far, they had accomplished the first two goals without incident. "Captain, I'm picking up something on long-range scanners," called out Officer Reed, her eyes fixed on the monitoring station. "It's large, metallic, and it's moving toward us." Ellis stroked his chin thoughtfully. First contact, perhaps. The bridge crew shifted nervously in their seats. Humanity had encountered a few alien species over the past decades, but each new meeting carried its own set of risks. "Put it on screen," Ellis ordered. The main view screen flickered to life, revealing a massive warship. Its dark hull was covered in what appeared to be weapons arrays and armored plating. The design was unlike anything in human records, all sharp angles and protruding spines that gave it the appearance of a predator ready to strike. "Open a communication channel," Ellis said calmly. "Standard greeting protocol." Minutes passed as they waited for a response. The alien vessel continued its approach, slowing as it neared the Horizon. Suddenly, the view screen changed. A large, reptilian face appeared, with ridged scales running from its forehead down to a blunt snout. Yellow eyes with vertical pupils stared back at them. "I am Commander Grok of the Vorx Dominion," the alien announced in a surprisingly good translation. "You have entered our territory. Identify yourselves or be destroyed." Ellis stepped forward. "I am Captain Jack Ellis of the Earth exploration vessel Horizon. We come in peace and were unaware this region was claimed. We apologize for the intrusion." The alien commander's eyes narrowed. "Humans, we have heard of your kind. Your expansion threatens Vorx interests. Surrender your vessel for inspection or face immediate destruction." Before Ellis could respond, a small commotion erupted at the back of the bridge. Max, the ship's unofficial mascot, a small white terrier with brown patches, had escaped from the crew quarters and trotted onto the bridge. "Someone grab Max," Ellis whispered urgently, not wanting to appear unprofessional during this crucial first contact. Too late. The small dog bounded forward, barking once at the strange face on the screen. The reaction was immediate and unexpected. Commander Grok physically recoiled, his yellow eyes widening in what could only be described as terror. Behind him, other Vorx officers visibly panicked, some even abandoning their posts. You would dare," Grok hissed, his composure shattered. "You bring a devourer to negotiations. This is psychological warfare." Ellis blinked in confusion as Officer Patel scooped up the still barking Max. "I assure you, Commander, this is just our ship's mascot. He's harmless." "Harmless." Grok's voice rose to almost a shriek. "You mock us with your lies. The beast cannot be controlled. This changes everything." The communication abruptly cut off. On the tactical display, the Vorx ship was rapidly moving away, as if fleeing. The bridge fell silent. Ellis looked at Max, who was now happily licking Officer Patel's hand, tail wagging. "Would someone please explain what just happened?" Ellis asked. Lieutenant Blake, their xenobiologist, stepped forward with a puzzled expression. "Captain, I think they're afraid of dogs." Ellis stared at the small terrier, then back at the retreating warship on the tactical display. A warship the size of a small city, running away from a 10-pound terrier. Ellis shook his head in disbelief. "Well, I never thought Max would become our secret weapon, but it seems we have a lot to learn about these Vorx." As the Horizon's crew tried to make sense of this bizarre turn of events, none of them realized that this small, unexpected encounter would change the course of human-alien relations forever. For 3 tense hours, the Horizon crew monitored the space where the Vorx ship had vanished. Captain Ellis ordered a full tactical alert, unsure if the alien retreat was simply a prelude to an attack. Any sign of them returning? Ellis asked, pacing the bridge. Nothing yet, sir, Officer Reed replied, studying her scanner. But they could be using some cloaking technology we can't detect. Lieutenant Blake approached with a datapad in hand. Captain, I've been searching our xenological database for any mention of the Vorx. There isn't much, but what I found might explain the reaction to Max. Ellis gestured for him to continue. Other species who've had limited contact with the Vorx mentioned their cultural mythology includes creatures called soul devourers. The descriptions are vague, but they match Earth canines in several ways. Four-legged predators with pointed ears and snouts. You're telling me they think Max is some kind of mythological monster? Ellis asked incredulously, looking at the small terrier now curled up in Officer Patel's lap. It appears so, sir, Blake confirmed. Their reaction wasn't faked. That was genuine terror we witnessed. Before Ellis could respond, Reed called out, Captain. Multiple objects dropping out of faster-than-light travel. It's the Vorx, and they've brought friends. The view screen showed 3 Vorx warships now positioning themselves in attack formation around the much smaller Horizon **. They're hailing us, Communications Officer Wilson reported. Ellis straightened his uniform. On screen, Commander Grok appeared again, but now wore what appeared to be ceremonial armor. His eyes darted nervously around as if expecting something to jump out at him. Human vessel, he began, voice strained but determined. Your deception has failed. We have returned with sufficient force to neutralize your biological weapon. Surrender the beast immediately or be destroyed. Ellis thought quickly. The Horizon * was an exploration vessel, not a warship. They couldn't fight 3 Vorx ships and survive, but they now had information that might save them. Officer Patel, Ellis whispered, bring Max to the bridge, but keep him calm. Turning back to the screen, Ellis adopted a stern expression. Commander Grok, there has been a misunderstanding. What you call a beast is what we call a dog. They are domestic companions on our world, not weapons. More lies. Grok snarled, though his eyes betrayed his fear. Our ancient texts speak of the Devourers. They consume the souls of warriors and bring doom to battlefields. You cannot deceive us. As Paddle quietly entered with Max, Ellis continued, I assure you, Commander, we had no intention of frightening you. But since you doubt our peaceful intentions. Ellis nodded to Patel, who stepped forward with Max in her arms. The small dog perked up at the sight of the alien on screen and gave a friendly yip. The effect was immediate. Commander Grok physically flinched and stepped back. Several Vorx officers could be heard making alarm calls in the background. You see, Ellis said calmly, if we meant you harm, would we be so open about his presence? This is Max, our friend, not a weapon. Grok seemed torn between terror and confusion. How you control such a beast? He's not a beast to us, Ellis explained. On Earth, dogs have lived alongside humans for thousands of years as companions and helpers. Max wagged his tail and barked again, causing visible distress among the Vorx. We propose a temporary ceasefire, Grok finally said, clearly struggling to maintain composure. My superiors will want to discuss this development. But know this, human, we are watching you. Keep your dog contained, or face consequences. The transmission ended abruptly. Ellis sighed with relief as the Vorx ships maintained their distance instead of attacking. It seems, he told his bewildered crew, that humanity's best friend might also be our best defense. He reached down to pet Max, who was blissfully unaware of his sudden importance in interstellar diplomacy. Who's a good intimidating space monster? You are. Captain Ellis called an emergency meeting in the Horizon's conference room. The bridge officers gathered around the oval table, with Max curled up under Lieutenant Blake's chair. We need a plan, Ellis said, looking at each crew member. The Vorx could decide at any moment that destroying us is safer than letting us go. But we have Max, Officer Patel pointed out. They're terrified of him. One small dog against 3 warships. Officer Wilson shook his head. That advantage won't last long once they realize he's harmless. Lieutenant Blake tapped his datapad thoughtfully. What if we make them think we have more than just Max? A whole kennel of devourers. Ellis leaned forward, interested. Go on. We have the ship's database full of Earth animal videos, including hundreds of dog breeds much larger and more intimidating than Max. A slow smile spread across Ellis's face. A bluff. I like it. For the next hour, the crew compiled what they called the Devourer Data Package, a collection of videos showing German shepherds in police work, St. Bernards bounding through snow, Dobermans standing alert, even clips from dog shows and competitions. Communications coming in from the Vorrex command ship, Reed announced. Ellis nodded. Perfect timing. Everyone ready. Commander Gruck's face appeared on screen, his expression a mixture of fear and determination. Human Captain, our council has reached a decision. You will surrender your biological weapon for study, and your crew will be permitted to return to human space. Ellis made a show of looking concerned. Commander, I must respectfully decline. Surrendering Max would be unwise. You dare refuse. Gruck snarled, though his eyes darted nervously. For your own safety, Ellis said calmly. You see, Max is what we call a terrier, one of our smallest, most mild-mannered breeds. He's actually just a pup. A pup, Gruck repeated, confusion evident. Ellis nodded to Officer Wilson, who transmitted the first video. A massive Caucasian shepherd guarding a property, muscles rippling under its thick coat as it barked thunderously. This, Ellis explained as Gruck's eyes widened in horror, is what we call an adult guard dog. The Vorrex commander physically backed away from his communication screen. By the eternal void. And we have several varieties on board, Ellis continued, as Wilson sent more videos. A Rottweiler in training, a Great Dane standing tall beside its owner, a wolf-like husky howling. This was a complete lie. Max was the only dog aboard the Horizon *, but the Vorrex had no way of knowing that. These are just our working breeds, Ellis added, bred over centuries for specific tasks. Max is merely our companion model. Gruck was visibly shaking now. He barked orders in his native language to someone off-screen. Your scans are blocked by our hull shielding, Ellis said, guessing the Vorrex were trying to verify his claims. But I assure you, Commander, we keep the larger devourers contained for everyone's safety. There was silence from the Vorrex ship. Ellis held his breath, hoping the bluff would work. Finally, Gruck spoke, his voice tightly controlled. Our scouts report that other human vessels in this sector also contain these creatures. Ellis nodded solemnly, playing along. Standard procedure for all Earth ships. For protection. I see. Gruck seemed to be making a difficult decision. We will permit your vessel to leave our territory unmolested. You have 6 of your Earth hours to cross back into neutral space. We appreciate your understanding, Commander, Ellis replied diplomatically. After the communication ended, the bridge crew remained silent for a long moment before breaking into relieved laughter. I can't believe it worked, Officer Reed exclaimed. Ellis picked up Max, who licked his face enthusiastically. Sometimes the best weapon is the one you never have to use, and sometimes it's a 10-pound ball of fur. As the Horizon changed course, Ellis wondered how long their deception would hold. The truth about Earth's dogs would eventually come out, but for now, they had bought themselves time and potentially prevented a war, all thanks to a small terrier with perfect timing. Set course for the nearest human outpost, Ellis ordered. I think Starfleet Command needs to hear about this as soon as possible. News traveled fast through the vastness of space. 2 weeks after the Horizon's encounter, reports of Vorrex activity near human colonies began flooding into Fleet Command. Captain Ellis found himself summoned to Earth for an emergency briefing. Admiral Thompson, a stern woman with silver hair, faced a room of military officials and colonial representatives. Ellis sat in the front row, feeling the weight of responsibility on his shoulders. The Voreks have launched attacks on 3 border colonies, Thompson announced, pointing to a holographic star map. Their forces are substantial and well-armed. Casualties? Someone asked. Minimal, surprisingly, Thompson replied. And this is where things get strange. Captain Ellis, would you please share your experience with these aliens? Ellis stood and recounted the Horizon's encounter, explaining the Voreks' fear of dogs. Several officials exchanged skeptical glances. You expect us to believe an advanced alien species is terrified of puppies? General Ward scoffed. Before Ellis could respond, a colonial representative named Ortiz raised her hand. Sir, I can confirm this. I'm from Harmony Colony, which was attacked 3 days ago. All eyes turned to her. The Voreks landed troops outside our main settlement. They were advancing toward us when Joe Miller's farm dogs got loose. Just regular border collies that help with the sheep. The moment those dogs came running over the hill, the entire Voreks force retreated in panic. Some abandoned their weapons. Murmurs filled the room. It's true, added another representative. On New Montana, the colonists used the community's search and rescue dogs to drive away a Vorek scout party. They fled so quickly they left equipment behind. Admiral Thompson nodded. Intelligence confirms these reports. The Voreks appear to have a species-wide phobia of canines. The question is, how do we use this information? General Ward leaned forward. Simple. We deploy dog units to all threatened colonies. It's not that simple, Ellis interjected. The Voreks won't remain vulnerable for long. They'll adapt once they realize Earth dogs aren't the soul-eating monsters of their mythology. Captain Ellis is right, Thompson agreed. We've intercepted communications indicating the Voreks High Command has ordered the capture of a devourer for study. They're developing new tactics and equipment specifically to counter dogs. A scientist named Dr. Lee spoke up. We should try to understand the root of their fear. If it's deeply ingrained in their psychology, they might never fully overcome it. The debate continued for hours. By the end, a multi-pronged approach was approved. Diplomatic efforts would continue while colonies received canine defense units, and research into Voreks psychology would be prioritized. 3 days later, Ellis watched from the command center as the first canine units prepared for deployment to border worlds. The sight was unusual. Military personnel paired with everything from German shepherds to mixed-breed rescues from shelters. Never thought I'd see the day when dogs became our frontline defense against alien invasion, remarked Commander Reyes, who would lead one of the units. Just remember, this advantage is temporary, Ellis cautioned. The Voreks aren't stupid. Their fear may be instinctual, but they'll find ways to fight through it. His warning proved prescient. Within a month, reports came back of Voreks soldiers wearing sealed armor suits with enhanced visual filters and using long-range weapons to attack from distances where dogs couldn't reach them. Then came the emergency transmission from Outpost 7, a critical research station studying a rare mineral deposit near Voreks space. They've adapted, shouted the station commander through static. They're using sonic weapons that disorient the dogs. We need reinforcements immediately. Ellis, who had been promoted to tactical advisor for the growing conflict, rushed to the war room. The holographic display showed the outpost surrounded by Voreks forces. Outpost 7 houses our main xenobiology lab, Admiral Thompson said grimly, if they capture our research on their physiology. Ellis stared at the tactical display, thinking of Max, who had become something of a mascot back on Earth. Admiral, I have an idea, but we'll need to move fast. What are you proposing, Captain? It's time to show the Voreks that humanity's best friends have more tricks than they realize. The transport ship Defender dropped out of faster-than-light travel near Outpost 7, its hull bearing fresh battle scars. Inside, Captain Ellis addressed 30 men and women in specialized combat armor. each paired with a dog wearing tactical gear. Operation Good Boy is officially underway, Ellis announced, pacing before the assembled teams. Our mission is simple but critical: break the Vorex siege and secure the research station. Max, now wearing a small vest marked with MASCOT patches, sat attentively at Ellis's feet. He had insisted on bringing the terrier who started it all. The small dog had become a symbol of humanity's unexpected advantage. The Vorex have adapted, Ellis continued, pointing to a holographic display of the enemy forces. Their new armor reduces visual and auditory input. They're fighting their fear with technology. Lieutenant Foster raised her hand. Her German Shepherd, Ranger, sat alertly beside her. What's our counter? Simple. They can dampen their senses, but they can't rewire their brains, Ellis said. Their fear is instinctual, possibly genetic. Our science team has developed something to exploit that. Ellis nodded to technical specialist Wong, who distributed small devices that attached to the dog's tactical vests. These emit a specific frequency that penetrates Vorex armor, Wong explained. It amplifies the dog's presence in ways their brains can't ignore. No matter how much they try to block their senses, their instincts will still scream danger. The teams spent the next hour reviewing tactics. Some dogs were trained to circle enemy positions, others to guard critical areas. The largest breeds would lead direct charges against Vorex lines. Remember, Ellis concluded, we're not trying to harm them unnecessarily. Our goal is to break their siege and protect our people. As the Defender approached Outpost 7, they could see the Vorex ships surrounding the small research station. The station's shields were failing, with only 23% power remaining. All teams to drop ships, Ellis ordered. Commence Operation Good Boy. 5 small craft detached from the Defender, each carrying a team of humans and dogs. Ellis commanded the central assault from the lead ship, with Max sitting in a secured carrier beside him. This is Captain Ellis to Outpost 7, he transmitted. Hold tight. Relief is coming. The station commander's voice came back, strained but hopeful. Never thought I'd be so happy to hear barking in my future. The dropships descended through the planet's atmosphere, targeting different sections of the Vorex perimeter. Ellis watched his tactical display as the enemy forces noticed their approach. They're redirecting their troops to counter us, Officer Reed reported. Ground-to-air weapons powering up. Evasive maneuvers, Ellis ordered. Team 2 and 3, draw their fire away from the main assault. 2 dropships veer off, causing the Vorex to split their focus. Ellis's ship rocketed toward the station's main entrance, where the heaviest fighting was happening. Activate the frequency amplifiers, Ellis commanded as they prepared to land. The dropship touched down hard amid weapons fire. The doors slid open, and Foster's team deployed first, their dogs leading the way with the new devices activated. The effect was immediate and dramatic. The nearest Vorex soldiers, despite their sealed armor, began backing away. Some dropped their weapons entirely, their instinctual fear overriding their military training. It's working, Foster shouted over the comms. They can't maintain formation. Ellis led the second wave out, keeping Max safely in his carrier for now. The human soldiers advanced behind their canine partners, reclaiming ground all the way to the station's entrance. Inside the research facility, terrified scientists watched in amazement as the Vorex forces scattered before what appeared to be an ordinary Earth animal. Their new armor isn't working, Ellis observed as his team secured the main entrance. They thought technology could overcome instinct. They were wrong. By nightfall, the Vorex had retreated to their ships. The siege was broken. As Ellis stood at the station's observation window watching the alien vessels pull back, he felt Max pawing at his leg. He picked up the small terrier, who licked his face enthusiastically. The irony, Ellis said to the station commander, is that dogs are probably the most loving creatures on Earth. If the Vorex only knew. Maybe someday they will, the commander replied. But for now, I'm just glad they don't. The victory at Outpost 7 marked a turning point in the conflict. While the Voreks continued their attacks, the deployment of canine units to human settlements created an effective defense network. Yet Captain Ellis knew that military solutions alone wouldn't end this war. We need to understand them better, Ellis told Admiral Thompson during a debriefing. Fighting their fear with our dogs is working for now, but it's not sustainable. What do you suggest? Thompson asked, stroking Max, who had become something of a good luck charm at headquarters. We captured 3 Vorek soldiers during the Outpost 7 operation. One of them is a scientist. I'd like permission to speak with him. 2 days later, Ellis entered a secure room where the Vorek scientist was being held. The alien sat rigidly in a specially designed chair, his scaled skin a mottled green-gray in the bright light. A translator device sat on the table between them. I am Captain Ellis. What should I call you? The Voreks eyed him suspiciously. Traz. I am lead researcher Traz. No devourers are present, Ellis assured him, noting how Traz scanned the room nervously. I want to understand why your people fear our dogs so deeply. Traz's vertical pupils narrowed. You used them as weapons against us. What more is there to understand? We only did that because you attacked us, Ellis countered. But the fear existed before that. I want to know why. Traz was silent for a long moment. Then, why do you care? Because I believe this conflict is based on misunderstanding, not true enmity. The Vorek scientist studied Ellis, seeming to weigh his sincerity. Finally, he sighed, a whistling sound through his nostril slits. The creatures you call dogs resemble the Krell, predators from our ancestral world, Traz explained. Before we developed technology, before we built cities, the Krell hunted us. They were relentless pack hunters with keen senses and terrible jaws. Ellis listened intently as Traz continued. My people, the Voreks, evolved from herd creatures. We survived through numbers and intelligence, but the Krell were always there, always hunting. Over millions of years, fear of them became embedded in our very genetic code. But the Krell don't exist on your current worlds, do they? Ellis asked. No. We eliminated them as we developed weapons. The last Krell died thousands of years ago. Traz's voice carried a mix of pride and something else, almost regret. But our bodies remember. When we see your dogs, something primitive awakens in our brains. We cannot control it. A genetic memory, Ellis mused. No wonder your soldiers can't simply get over it. Our leaders believe your people discovered this weakness somehow and bred these creatures specifically to use against us, Traz admitted. Commander Grok was convinced it was a planned biological weapon. Ellis shook his head. Dogs have lived alongside humans for over 15,000 years. They were our companions long before we knew the Voreks existed. Traz seemed genuinely surprised. Companions. You keep predators as companions. They're not predators to us, Ellis explained. Early humans domesticated wolves, wild ancestors of dogs. Over time, they evolved to be our helpers, protectors, and friends. The concept seemed to both fascinate and disturb Traz. But they could turn on you. They don't. That's the point of domestication. They see us as their family. Ellis pulled out a small device and placed it on the table. Would you be willing to see something? I promise, no actual dogs will be present. After Traz hesitantly agreed, Ellis activated a hologram showing ancient cave paintings, primitive humans hunting alongside wolves, sharing food with them. This is how it began, Ellis explained, showing more images through history. Egyptian tombs with dog representations, medieval portraits featuring noble hounds, all the way to modern service dogs helping disabled people. Traz watched in stunned silence. What your people see as monsters, we see as one of our greatest partnerships, Ellis said softly. This war is based on a biological misunderstanding. Traz looked up at Ellis, his alien features unreadable. Commander Grok would never believe this. Then perhaps, Ellis suggested, Commander Grok needs to see it for himself. A neutral space station orbiting a lifeless moon became the unlikely setting for peace talks between humans and the Voreks. The station was specially modified for the historic meeting. One section completely dog-free for the Voreks delegation, another where the human representatives could bring their canine companions. Captain Ellis waited in the central meeting chamber, which was divided by a transparent barrier. Max sat quietly at his feet, now wearing a small ceremonial vest bearing both human and Voreks symbols. "They're here," Admiral Thompson announced as the far door slid open. Commander Grok entered cautiously, flanked by armed guards, and lead researcher Traz. The Voreks commander's eyes immediately locked onto Max, his body tensing visibly despite the barrier between them. "Commander Grok," Ellis said formally, "thank you for agreeing to this meeting. Researcher Traz has shared unexpected information." Grok replied stiffly. "Our High Command believed verification was necessary before making any decisions." Ellis gestured to chairs on both sides of the barrier. "Then let's talk." For the next hour, Ellis and Thompson presented evidence of humanity's long relationship with dogs, archaeological findings, historical documents, and genetic studies showing how wolves gradually evolved into domestic dogs through selective breeding. "Your dogs did not evolve naturally," Grok observed, still maintaining his distance from the barrier. "You created them." "We guided their development," Ellis corrected, "but not as weapons, as helpers and companions." Traz spoke up. "Commander, I have verified their claims. These creatures evolved alongside humans for mutual benefit, long before our species encountered each other." Grok's scaled face betrayed conflicting emotions. "Even if this is true, it changes nothing about our instinctual response. My soldiers cannot simply ignore thousands of generations of genetic programming." "We understand that," Ellis said, "which is why we propose designated dog-free zones for all future diplomatic and trade interactions. We respect your biological reality." The Voreks commander seemed surprised by this concession. "You would accommodate our weakness." "It's not weakness," Thompson interjected. "It's biology. Just as we can't breathe your atmospheric mix without assistance, you can't override your instinctual fear. These are facts, not failings." A thoughtful silence fell over the room. Finally, Grok looked directly at Ellis. "Captain, there is something you should know. Our expansion into your border territories was not random. We are fleeing something." Ellis leaned forward. "Fleeing what?" "We call them the Swarm. They have consumed 3 of our outer colonies already. They are," Grok struggled for words, "they are relentless, without mercy or reason. And you thought we might be allied with them," Ellis realized. "When we discovered creatures that triggered our deepest fears on your ships, it seemed logical," Traz admitted. Admiral Thompson exchanged glances with Ellis. "Commander Grok, if this swarm threatens your people, it will eventually threaten ours too. We propose an alliance," Ellis said, "against this common enemy." Grok's yellow eyes widened. "You would ally with us? After our attacks on your colonies? Survival sometimes requires setting aside past conflicts," Thompson replied. Over the next few hours, the framework of an unexpected partnership emerged. The Voreks would share their knowledge of the swarm threat. Humans would provide safe havens for Voreks refugees. Joint defense systems would be established along the borders. As for the dogs, a unique solution emerged. Brave Voreks volunteers would undergo desensitization therapy, working with specially trained therapy dogs to gradually overcome their instinctual fear. "It will not be easy," Traz warned. "But if some of us can learn to tolerate your companions, it could change everything for our species." 1 month later, Ellis watched through a viewing window as Traz sat in her room, trembling slightly. A door opened, and a handler entered with Max on a leash. The small terrier, now trained as an ambassador dog, moved slowly and calmly. "History in the making," Admiral Thompson murmured beside Ellis. Traz reached out a shaking hand. Max gently sniffed it, then sat down, maintaining a respectful distance. The Vorex scientist didn't run. It was a small step, but significant. From enemies to allies, Ellis said, smiling as Max wagged his tail. All because a dog wandered onto my bridge at exactly the right moment. Outside the station, human and Vorex ships patrolled together, preparing for the greater threat that approached. Two species, divided by biology, but united by circumstance, finding common ground despite their differences. And at the center of it all, a small dog who had no idea he had changed the course of interstellar relations forever.